My people now well done. Oh. I greet all of you according to the time when they use, wherever now they listening from. My people, I want make we understand, say, a good leader is not only known by where he is going, but what he can inspire others to go. Where he can inspire others to go with him. That is what determines a good leader. My dope people now they talk to so. This our current governor in Edo State. I want more listen to her again. Una see say, a person will be say he just they crave. He just craving for power. I want more listen to her. Person we not they crave, where is not craving after power, position, fame, popularity. Mona they see they no Mona they also notice this quality of people like that. So people like this comic governor are very rare. These are the kind of people with personality. People with character. Is it not lack of character that led the whole Nigeria into this pitiable condition? When a situation whereby when we are looking forward how to entrust our lives into the hand of people or society people or the name of leader, we don't look beyond their fame, their influence, their positions. We don't look beyond that to see their character. Is what led that may even to what we can. When are we going to learn Edo people? You now see this the problem we are facing in Nigeria. A situation whereby society of people will just force themselves on you. They will tell you it's their turn for them to lead you. And great leaders do not desire to lead. As according to him, I value according to his words now, because I'm the type of a woman that value words, just like God. God said he honor his word more than his name. Applicable to me, I honor my word. So I listen to his words. I value whoever that value his word, he must value the word of God. Great leader are not just desiring to just come and lead people. Come and lead. Along ground, you see them ruling, not even leading. True leader are only looking forward on how to serve people. Not how they can maneuver, they can manipulate, how they are going to break protocols to enter power. Just what I'm witnessing here. How can you go and be taking the exercise of voting in your own residence? Is that why in Edo State Constitution or Nigeria Constitution? Please, I would like you to listen to our brother Ighodaro. And
the Deputy Governor of Edo State is said to have won a parallel governorship primary organized at his residence in Benin. Bartholomew Moses, the returning officer who announced Shaibu as the winner of the primary election, said the Deputy Governor won the exercise with over 300 votes. Joining us now on the morning show is Asue Ighodalo, winner of the governorship primary election of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in Edo State, monitored by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Good morning, Mr. Ighodalo, and thank you for joining us on the morning show.
Good morning, Dr. Abati, and thank you for inviting me this morning. Thank you. Morning.
Well, I guess congratulations are in order. Congratulations. You're being declared the
thank you very much.
Candidate now of the PDP in the forthcoming Edo State gubernatorial elections. But two quick things. Number one is that...
Thank you, Doctor.
The media keeps reporting that you are the preferred candidate of Godwin Obaseki, the governor. And I know that, look, you had addressed this again and again, but it looks like it's not going away. Again, that tag, I I don't know how you feel that people keep tagging you the governor's anointed candidate. That's one. And two, how do you feel about the fact that Philip Shaibu, the deputy governor, organized his own parallel primary election in his house and was declared a winner? So are you bothered about that? Are you disturbed? You know, do you have concerns that could affect the eventual situation?
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Abati. And like I said, thank you for inviting me again this morning. This issue of governor's preferred candidate, I've talked about it over and over again. And I'll keep talking about it for as long as people keep asking me about it. And I say this very clearly, that I came into this race on my own steam by myself. I was asked and by a number of friends to consider political office, and it's something that my friends and some elders talked to me about over a period of time. And I then prayed about it, discussed it with my family, and then my partners in my law firm, and I then took the decision to do it. Many things had affected my thinking and kind of moved my thinking towards public office. I'd been involved in a lot of public-related services over the years. In Edo State particularly, I was in the economic team, or I've been related or in and around the economic team since 2008. I was in Comrade Oshomole's economic team from 2008 to 2016. I was asked by Governor Obaseki to chair the Lagodaro Limited by Guarantee, which every year organized the economic summit of the state and had a board that periodically advised the government on its economic policies. I was chairman of the Nigerian Economic Summit for 4 years. And even as important, when I served on the board of the Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority, there were a lot of public-related activities that we were engaged in and infrastructure development. And all of this caused me, when I started thinking, when I was being talked to consider public service, it caused me to shift favorably towards that thinking. So that's what it is. I suspect that for many people, it's convenient to set a narrative to distract and remove from the issues. I also have said this many times before, that when you looked at all of the aspirants, there are many more people that are closely related to Governor Obaseki and even friendlier with Governor Obaseki than myself. So I never understood why this toga of being the governor's preferred candidate was put on my head. But, you know, as far as that may go, I don't think it's a problem anymore. I have managed to reach out to the people of Edo State for them to know who I am, what I'm about, what I have for the people of Edo State, my thinking about social issues, economic issues, unemployment, insecurity. So I'm quite clear, and I think the people of Edo State now know who I am and know what I stand for. Governor Obaseki and I have been friends for over 40 years. I respect him tremendously, and I believe he does respect me too. We've worked, you keep referring to me as a businessman. I'm actually a lawyer, not a businessman. I've worked as a corporate lawyer on different sides or the same side of transactions with him. And so we've been friends, and I think that's how he invited me to work with him on his economic team. But be that as it may, I came into this process by myself, on my own steam, encouraged by friends and elders from Edo State, and I have not regretted one moment coming into this race. I see a path for the state. I see a way by which I can contribute to moving the state into prosperity, and I'm glad that I've come into this process, and I'll give it my all. I thank God that we've gone through the first stage, and we'll start work on reaching out to the people, talking to the people, getting across to the people, and doing our very best to do well in September and win the elections in the state. As regards your second question, I actually didn't know anything else was happening in anybody's house, you know. Definitely as loyal members of our party, we shouldn't do things that will bring our party into disrepute. But I'm quite clear in my mind that the party will deal with that issue. It's not something I should lose sleep over or waste any time talking about. When you invite guests into your house, into your residence for an event, you can call the event whatever you wish. But I'm sure the party will deal with that issue.
All right. Congratulations, Mr. Asio Ighodalo. Good to see you on the other side of your win. The last time you were here, you were an aspirant as to being the flag bearer of the PDP in Edo State. Now, two things I'd like to ask you. The first is...
That's Ayo, right?
Yes, it's Ayo. Morning. The first is
Morning,
around
Ayo. Yeah.
the accreditation process, where some delegates were said to have been aggrieved that they were denied accreditation, and perhaps that was why they had no choice but to move to another location to conduct their own primaries. I'd like you to speak to that in terms of accreditation. And the second one would be this. I know you've talked about the fact that you wouldn't lose sleep over what happened with the parallel primaries that happened in Edo State. However, when the G5 started off during the presidential elections, it didn't seem like they would have significant impact on the outcome for the PDP in that election. But you'd know that it was a major factor. Are you concerned that the division in your party at this time might impact, not very positively, the chances of the PDP at the polls if it's not sorted properly?
Yeah, thank you very much, Ayo. And again, good morning. As far as I know, and I think I know quite a bit, I think the accreditation process yesterday went extremely well. We went through the ward congresses where we elected 3 ad hoc delegates for each ward. We have 192 wards, so I think we came about having 576, thereabouts, or 572 delegates that were elected. The results of that election went up to the National Working Committee of the party, and those results were validated and confirmed. Based on those results and the delegates elected, we had the national delegates election the week after. Those results were also validated and confirmed, and a list of elected delegates that will take part in our primaries was confirmed by the National Working Committee of the party, was published, and was circulated to all the members of the party in Edo State who are involved in this process. That was the list that was used to accredit delegates to yesterday's primaries. And everybody that was on that list, because I saw the list, had everybody's photograph and name and particulars. So everybody that was on that list went into the accreditation center, got accredited, and those who were accredited were then let into the venue of the primaries. That was the process. It followed the constitution of the party. It followed the guidelines that were set down for the primary election. So I think everything went. I would like to commend the National Working Committee of the party. I think through this process, and this being my probably a great experience with the party, the whole process went really well. And I really give kudos to the National Working Committee. I think they did really well. And for me, what I saw yesterday, I didn't see any proper delegate or validated delegate complaining. Anybody can drop a list in their bedroom and then say that is the list of delegates. There's a process. Like I said, we shouldn't bring the party into disrepute. We should always act in accordance with the laws we set. If you join a party or an organization, then you must abide by the laws, rules, and policies of that organization. We have a constitution in our party, which was updated up until 2017. I believe that was the last amendment. We have electoral guidelines. We have processes. We have rules. We have appeal processes. The party has strong internal mechanisms for dispute resolution and for resolving its issues. So I find it a bit strange that people resort to self-help. I don't think it's a proper way to proceed. I don't think people that seek to lead should not follow the law and should not follow the rules that are set down and behave in a manner that will bring a credible organization into any form of disrepute. So I think the process went well yesterday as far as I am concerned and as far as I know, and from the feedback I have received from the very many delegates that came from all over the state to attend this process. Again, I commend the National Working Committee and the local organizing committee for the organization that was put in place. If you are not validated, if you are not listed and confirmed by the National Working Committee, you couldn't stroll into the accreditation center and demand to be accredited. We're not in a jungle environment. There are rules and regulations, and we will abide by those rules and regulations. And I think many or nearly all of the party members that came from far and wide abided by those rules and regulations. And I think we had a smooth and transparent and effective primaries overseen by Governor Lawal and Governor Sheriff of Delta State, and a very strong panel that had a former senator, a senior advocate of Nigeria, and strong party members. And I think everything went well. And like I said, I give kudos to the National Working Committee. As regards the consequential effect of what happened somewhere else in town, like I said before, the party has strong internal mechanisms for dealing with things like that, and the party will deal with it. The party will be fair, the party will be just, and the party will deal with it. Like I don't think that anybody should just wake up and decide that they want to do something contrary to what the party has set down and seek to get that validated. We're not in the jungle anymore, and we're not in the 18th century when everything was by brute and force. I think the rules and regulations were in the 21st century, and we'll act in accordance with those rules and regulations. So like I said, the party will deal with all these issues, and I'm not losing any sleep over this. There's a lot of work to be done now.
Okay.
We have to come and unite the party, get guys back together so that we can prepare for the elections in September.
But congratulations once again, Mr. Asare Ighodalo. I'm really excited about your optimism that you say we're not in the 18th century, but I'm sorry, I disagree with you. In Nigerian politics, well, we're in the wild, wild west, even worse than the 18th century. If not, you wouldn't see all this shenanigan happening everywhere in our politics. I mean, it's way worse than that. Let's not try to, put a lipstick on the mouth of a pig. It's murky. It is dirty, and what happened yesterday is an indication. And I have to say that strongly. I mean, Ayo cited good morning, sir. Ayo cited the G5. We can go way back, even what happened to Soludo before his emergence, how the case had to draw out for a while in Anambra State and all of that. But there's a case in court. A certain Moru took a case to court, and in fact was trying to get an ex-party to stop the party primary from going on. But the judge said that we'd like to hear all sides on this. I mean, what's your take on that, number one? Number two, we talked, we had a conversation last time you were here about funding for projects in Edo State. And you threw up some very exciting ideas. I want to hear your ideas on, funding, for instance, for infrastructural projects around the bypass, the Warri Sapele Road, in Benin, and a couple of other road projects in and out of the states, those options.
Thank you very much. Again, Rufai, thank you, and good morning. I think there will always be contestations and sometimes disputes in any gathering or group of people. The issue really is how those disputes are resolved. That truly is the issue. And I said earlier that I have every confidence that our party has strong internal mechanisms for resolving disputes. And we have, at the last resort, we have our courts. When cases become justiciable, we have our courts. And our courts will deal from the lower courts to the appellate court to the Supreme Court. We have a court system that will again deal with these issues. We must, as much as possible, try and abide by the rule of law. And that's what I was trying to say. And so all of these issues will go through the normal process and the normal judicial process after they've got through our own internal processes. Yes, I became aware yesterday after the primaries that there was an ex parte application filed in court, and certain persons were trying to get an injunction to stop the process. And the courts did the right thing. There are a plethora of judicial decisions that suggested and validates the position of the Federal High Court judge. And I think that's the proper thing, you know, like I said, and that seems to confirm my position that we're not in the 18th century. There's a process, there are precedents, and there are rules of court, and the judge rightly followed those processes. So again, like I said, I'm really not too worried. Once we abide by the rule of law, things will take their natural course. There will be disputes, people may disagree, but things will be resolved. And so I'm not as pessimistic as you are, Rufai. And again, Rufai, if you're looking in from the outside, sometimes it appears as if, or it may sometimes appear as if things are the way you've described them, you know, jungle, what did you call it? But that's not, there's some method in the madness, you know, and there are rules, there are regulations. Once there's respect in the process, once people follow the rules, the problems are not as daunting as they may appear. So like I said earlier to Ayo, I'm not as worried as many people may think or one should be at this time. As regards the funding, I discussed this to you a number of times. I've discussed this and I discussed it again. There are different ways and there are creative ways of funding. If you remember, the government of Edo State just recently had a concession arrangement with a group of DFIs on how to fund the Benin-Asaba Road. And I discussed this before. I have a pet project, the Benin-Auchi Road, for instance, and we'll raise funding. We'll find infrastructure finance. The issue with raising funding is for the funders to trust the process. If they see there's transparency in governance and they trust the process and they know that there's a way in which the money will come back at the end of that process and the money won't leak and the money will go for the projects you want it to go for, then you will find funding. And so I'm not too worried about finding funding. I've been raising funds commercially and corporately in the last nearly 30 years. On project finances and transactions. So I'm not too worried about finding appropriate, well-priced, cheap funding to attract infrastructure development into Edo State. All kinds of type, blended funding, green funding, creative funding. There's a lot of money out there. There's at least $17 trillion of capital out there that's earning zero interest that we can attract if they trust the governance process, if there's transparency in the governance process, you know. So I don't worry too much about that. What we need to do is to be focused, put together a right team, be hardworking, identify the problems of the people, meet the people at their points of distress. There's so much that must be done. Inflation is high. You know, we continue having this high rate of devaluation, cost of living. I was in the market the other day and people were really distressed. There's a lot of suffering in the land. So what we need to do is get the right team together, focus, work, and I don't think we will not be able to deal with many of the problems. The only problem is that we have to prioritize because again, you will take time for that to build trust. As you build trust, you get more funding. So you prioritize during the period whilst you're trying to build trust. But I know that by God's grace, we'll be able to achieve this and we'll be able to attract the right kind of funding. It's the same thing in the private sector. You know, when they trust a corporate, they think the corporate management is good, then that corporate attracts more funding than corporates that are not well trusted. Same principle. And that's the principle we'll bring to governance in Edo State. And one more thing before I round up on this, you know, a verification of our process for the primaries, and I should have said that when I was responding to Ayo's question, is that we had 7 participating in this primary, and all of the candidates participated actively, and we had an effective and transparent primaries yesterday. So again, I'm not as bothered as you're making out in your questioning. Thank you.
Okay, well, beyond the primaries and, talks about accreditation and all that, let's now focus on the main job ahead. What is your vision for Edo State? What kind of governance model do you intend to adopt?
Thank you very much, Doctor. First of all, governance models will be fully inclusive. Fully inclusive. Our government will be accessible. We will go down to the grassroots. We'll talk to our people, find out where the problem points are. I definitely will have 3 regional development agencies across the state, so that we'll look at what are the comparative advantage points through the state. We'll look at the soil types we have, what's best planted where. We'll look at where we can set up industries and how we can attract industries. I think the key thing with Edo State is to sit back and look at what do we intend to do to alleviate the suffering of our people. What are those things we must do to move Edo State? And that's the promise I've made to the people, to start this process of moving Edo State from where we are today into prosperity. And there's so many things we can do, so many things. We can start with tourism. But I think when we talk to the people of Edo State, there are 3 things that bother them the most: security or insecurity, unemployment, insecurity, and then the inflation. And then there are also soft issues that bother them, water, light, and all of those infrastructure issues. And then the issue of roads. So we've identified the major things, and then we will look at those developmental, or what are the things that will catalyze development in the state. So I'm quite clear that if we can deal with the issue of security, and the constitutional provisions and restrictions around the states having strength to do that, but we will work well with the federal government. We will start a system of local policing, where the community and each member of the community is responsible for security around the area, and we'll be able to give that information to the security forces and the police. So we'll ensure we have adequate and effective security. Anybody that steps into Edo State will know that its security position will be strong. And the other thing we will do, and I will be talking to my Director of Public Prosecutions, whoever that is, and the Ministry of Justice, we must have effective sanctioning. Nobody will get away with any criminal or other act within the state. One of the problems we have with regards to security is that there's been no effective sanctioning process, or the sanctioning process is not as effective as it is. People commit offenses, and for different reasons, you find that they don't, or they're not effectively sanctioned, or they don't face the appropriate sanction for the offenses they've committed. And we will look at our criminal laws and procedures, and we'll ensure that we have sanctions that are fit for the whatever misdeed or whatever crime has been committed. So if people know that if they commit crimes and they commit offenses, they will be effectively sanctioned, that will reduce people's propensity to commit all of these crimes. We must also find a way to employ our people. If people are adequately employed, gainfully employed, and people find things to do, then the criminality quotient reduces significantly. So definitely we'll work on security. Once we get security right within the state, then other things flow. It's easier to attract investment, it's easier to attract tourists, it's much easier to attract financing for your infrastructure projects. So, but we must get security right. Then we must face the issue of roads, the issue of unemployment, the issue of shortage of food. And security and food are linked, because people can't get to their farms because they're afraid of going into the farms. So, Ruben, we have a clear program. I see a path for Edo State to move from where it is today into prosperity. And what we are going to do is roll up our sleeves from day one, gather together a first-class team, and work as hard as we can for the good people of Edo State to put money into their pockets, to make their lives much better, and to move us into prosperity.
Well, thank you very much for your time this morning, Mr. Asue Ighodalo, PDP Governor.
So thanks for watching. Please, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do not hesitate to subscribe. Bye-bye.